Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. Let's waste no time. Woo-wee! Let's get to it. Story number 1. Why did the Girard School Board president step down? As of January 14th, it appears that the Girard City School District is looking for applicants to fill an opening after board president Diane Algiers stepped down after serving for 17 years. I'm pretty sure I got that right, her name right. Now the seat has to be filled, and the city is now accepting applications. Let's getting the story into the top 8 because somebody has to fill the spot. Big head. Story number 2. The McGuffey Center rebound. Sheen Barron has a report published January 13th focusing on the progress taking place to get the McGuffey Center in top headlines. Now, I guess they're now under the leadership of David Height, a longtime community servant. He used to be, if you know him, he's the guy who's always at the basketball game. Now, this story made it in because East Siders continue to reach out to media correspondents about the neglect that has taken place on their side of town. Now, this is an ongoing story that is staying alive because there have been report after report that has been stated in headlines, and they're saying that nothing has been done on their side of town, the east side of Youngstown. Tires and waste have been left on once thriving real estate lands that is now abandoned, and there has been little reinvestments made by graduates who have gone on with their lives, but some of them are still residents, and some of them have moved away. Others and some of them are keeping the properties that they do have up, but I mean, they're saying that there's no reinvestment, no businesses, no nothing. Now, East Siders are grouping together either way to keep their story in top headlines. That's why story number 2 made it is. Shout out to David Height. He does do some refereeing around the community. Story number 2, big. Story number 3, a slight delay in Liberty. Brandon Cantwell has a report out of Liberty published January 14th about how trustees have been informed about a delay in funding for the Frederick Street project in Liberty. Now, Wayne Hickman, who oversees the township's road department, spoke on how he is now in the process of finding alternative funding. Now, the fact that 44 apartment complexes and 19 businesses will be impacted is what got this story in, folks. This story is still developing. So story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4. Girard is looking to increase pay. Bob Coupland has a report published January 14th out of the Vindicator explaining how the city of Girard will be increasing pay for their safety service director and their part-time council clerk. Now, the article does mention some others, but these are the main ones. Now, what got this article in is the fact that the article touches on a few things that is keeping Girard in consistent headlines, and they're showing the progress in that part of town. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Story number 5. Food stamp fraud is in the headlines, local headlines. Dan Pompley has a report out of Boardman explaining how township residents are reporting being victims of food stamp fraud. People are reporting going to the store to purchase food with a zero balance on their card. That's getting them nothing. Now, the SNAP programs are used highly around the valley, with many stating that they have been left with no option to recover their benefits. So that's basically when they go there, you don't have it. They've been calling and trying to get their benefits restored, but they can't. Now, why thieves are choosing to steal from those already struggling is the question posed by the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. Now, there is a solution mentioned in the report because the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023 provides the replacement for stolen SNAP benefits, but the article goes on to inform the reader that it was not renewed in the American Relief Act of 2025, which was signed into law December 21st. Now, this is a serious story because a lot of people have reported charges on their account as far away as New York. So I mean, somebody in New York has been spending their money and they don't know who it is. Folks, the action to recover these funds and get benefits cards restored is what everyone is waiting to hear. This story is still developing. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6, YSU gets another donation. YSU has been in a lot of headlines lately, mainly because people have been donating money. Now, in an article published January 14th, the John S. and Doris M. Andrews Memorial Fund, which is a component of the Community Foundation of Mahoning Valley, as stated in the article by the Vindicator, has made a $500,000 donation to the Kill College Center. The article is filled with high hopes on improving the quality of the center for the greater good of the university, which serves as a critical investment into the future, as stated in the report, the future students, the future enrollees. Now, the consistent news of progress at YSU is what has stories like these still trending. That's why story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big headline. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, if you do want to check out the show, if you don't get up this early, I do upload it to our website on our YouTube page on Monday. So if you don't get up this early and you feel like but you do want to catch the top 8 and see what stories are in for the week, you can log on to the website on the screen. Story number 7. What is Valley Vision 2050? Raymond Smith has a report out of Warren focusing on a $1 million grant for Valley Vision 2050, which according to the report is a program established to promote the 2-county regions of Mahoning and Trumbull County as a hub for economic growth. Now, the article goes on by citing the weaving together of the Western Reserve Port Authority, East Gate Regional Council of Governments, Valley Partners, Youngstown Foundation, and the Youngstown Warren Regional Chamber. Now, the article goes on to explain how the grant will be used with a long list of motions and approvals. Folks, this story is still developing. That's story number 7, also made it to the top this week. Big headline. Story number 8 and the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week around Martin Luther King Day. If you do want to show the show some support, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Boardman or Youngstown, Ohio, and come in and buy something in the store, see my smiling face, or you can just go to the website, folks. Let's get to this top story. Story number 8, the local sales tax target. Ed Runyon has a report out of the Vindicator published January 14th highlighting the most recent information about the county's sales tax revenue of 2024. Now, the article is pretty straightforward, citing how collections pretty much stayed the same from $54,724,000 and 946 in 2023 to $54,760,000 and $222 in 2024. So not much of a change, but a little about 22 or 20,000. Now, Auditor Ralph Beecham mentioned inflation as a factor and he highlights property taxes as a factor also on why sales tax is staying flat when they're not increasing. The article is very informative and even mentions how tax revenue is spent. That's what got the story in. Well, folks, are the top 8 local headlines developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines developing news stories. So don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator with me, Brown West. I'll be right back.
Justified, with me forever. One day he's coming back, what a glorious day. Send it on down, Lord. Send it on down, Lord. Lord, let your Holy Ghost come on down. Send it on down, Lord. Send it on down, Lord. Lord, let your Holy Ghost come on down. Hey.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top Well, top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it on this Martin Luther King Day. You know what's amazing about this Martin Luther King Day is a lot of people they don't. I think you have to really go back in time and read about all that this vision that Dr. King had, especially when it comes to desegregation and eating and drinking at nice facilities mixed with people that were segregated. This is a new generation, so they may not understand what that was like almost over 60 something years ago, probably I think almost 80 now, and this was probably in the 1960s, and you had yeah, it's probably about 60 something years ago, over 60 something, and you had all this segregation, and a lot of younger folks don't know what that was probably like. You know, I was born in the 80s, so I had to get adapted to what would have had took place before I got on this planet, and there was a lot going on. You know, people were getting lynched, and there was a lot of strife between, you know, two races of people, and it's amazing how America has grown, but there's still problems. And what's amazing now is we're looking at everybody is looking at politics and what's happening, but this is what happened then is still in some situations happening now on both sides of the fence. You know, we talk about people, the way people think, and I always enjoy you know, watching the political speeches, and I got a kick out of, you know, Trump and comparing himself, you know, to Dr. King, and people talking about the situation. Now it could be comedy, but it does tickle your imagination because we still have a problem between two races of people, you know, blacks and whites still having some strife, you know, some unsettled thoughts inside their mind when it comes to stuff like this, and and it kind of makes me wonder what if Trump, you know, and this administration decide to give reparations to you know, my you know, all African American people, and could you imagine what that would be like? You know, I mean, the guy just gets up, and he's got the black vote, and he got a lot of majority vote, and his first day in office, he gets in there, and he just changes his thought. You know, everybody's angry right now. You know, most people are, you know, a lot of African Americans are devoted to the Democrat Party, and some of them think, you know, Republicans are racist. And you hear this talk in circles. I mean, it's evident, you see it. But could you imagine if Trump just got in the White House and I'm going to give all African Americans what they need? I mean, could you imagine what the look on people's faces? You know, I mean, what Youngstown folks would be doing? People all, you know, in the hardest parts, the ghettos of America. I mean, this would get their attention. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, everybody, I'll say, majority of minority communities are struggling. You know, can't make ends meet. They're talking about SNAP benefits getting stolen. But could you imagine if Trump just decided to give everybody African Americans reparations? Oh man, their descendants, and I mean, this would change. I mean, everybody would probably be. I wonder if that would change the outlook on what people think about Trump. You know. I mean, this would probably change everything. I mean, people probably be cleaning up trash and patting police and giving them hugs, and I mean, it would change. I mean, you just imagine you come home, your family members that's been arguing and on drugs, fighting with drug dealers, and I mean, I'm a victim, so I see it all the time. I mean, what would change? You know, Snoop Dogg merchandise probably flying off the shelf, and record labels be back in business. P. Diddy get bailed out of jail. It's real. Trump giving reparations on Martin Luther King Day. What about that? Let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 1. A shortage of 18-year-olds is in the headlines. The abortion and contraception bug could bite the United States in the butt later on down the road. The Hetchinger report has a headline stating that the number of 18-year-olds is about to drop sharply and will hit colleges and the economy hard. Now, the entire report homes in on the 18-year-old market and what appears to be an estimated $650,000 the drop in 18-year-olds by 2039. That's 15% compared to now, folks. This story is still developing. That's story number 1. Made it. Story number 2, the medicine man. Now, with almost everyone dependent on some form of drug, NPR has a report focusing on the cost. Now, it appears that drug makers are hiking prices this month. Now, this story is still trending because those with diabetes, HIV, and cancer will be impacted the most, folks. This story is still developing. That's story number 2 made it. Story number 3, the working class is under the microscope. Fortune has a piece highlighting America's workforce. The headline speaks on how America's working class is barely getting by. The article is filled with the imagery of the America's workforce. They have some nice pictures on there. Now, the article's main focus is on how basic working needs are not being met. Folks, this story spans all the way back to the 1990s. Now, the cost of housing and the fact that costs are increasing across the board is what has this story trending, folks. Stagnant wages, unable to keep up with costs, is also mentioned in the report. The article mentions unionizing as a solution, but cites a complex structure as an obstacle, a complex structure to unionize. That's what story number 3 made of this. Story number 4, who has the skills? Small chatter is in circulation about some talking points centered around work visas. Now, the question is, how valuable is foreign labor compared to American labor? Axios has a piece highlighting some debates on who is more important to the U.S. labor force, in which foreign labor plays a key part in. Now, there is a comedian creating a lot of buzz online because he is developing a reputation for touching some amazing talking points, homing in on some amazing talking points. And now, in one of his routines, he basically points out how the visa program is a slap in the face to college-educated Americans by telling them that they can't do the job. So they're basically saying that the Americans don't have the mental capacity and function to do these jobs, so we'll hire foreigners. Now, those are not his exact words, but the talking points that he's making shine some light on the topic that could be brewing in Trump's stance on immigration at the moment, and it could be brewing on others' views on work visas. So it could be bringing this to the forefront. Now, skilled workers pay more than $32,000 per year in federal taxes, while only consuming about $3,500 worth of government services. This is unusual compared to Americans. Now, the entire report, that means they're saving the government money. Now, the entire report is very informative and is definitely worth a read, thus getting the story into top headlines. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines developing news stories that made this week. I'm right back with the top 4, so don't you go anywhere. The Mediator, me, Brian West. I'm right back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week on Martin Luther King Day, or around Martin Luther King Day. And if you're watching the show on Monday, then this probably is Martin Luther King Day. We were celebrating this day, and it's just amazing. You got Trump saying he compares himself to Dr. King, and we hear people joking about this presidents, and it just brings up the matter of the dream, the American dream, and how far it's come, and how some people still view the country as segregated, and how it could be. It's basically the school of thought, how Democrats think and Republicans think. And this is a dangerous avenue because some people still feel deprived of the American dream. But the hunger is still in a lot of people, And we talk about this year and how the world has changed so much, and how racism is probably still alive or it's not still alive. But the stats show that there is something going on when it comes to minorities in America. And we look at this. We look at our family members. My uncle is still hungry for the American dream. And in his generation, him and my dad's, they had to break a lot of rules to get a paycheck because they were not allowed to do certain things. I have relatives that literally got cheated out of the American dream because of laws, and the sad part about segregation. So they had to go break laws and get in trouble. And this was back in the day where where people were hardcore racists, burning crosses. So I'm like the offspring of all this craziness of how they think, and the chip in a lot of people's heads. So my uncle, I saw it for myself. My uncle has to basically work for the rest of his life, and my dad, because my dad legs are messed up. They gotta find a way to support themselves as older folk, because their generation did not have the benefits that this generation has, and they couldn't go to college, and they couldn't. Well, some of them could, but it was after a while. They couldn't get educated. So my uncle, when I saw him fall off the roof, I said, man. The man literally got on the roof at 60-something years old, and he's still hungry for this American dream. I mean, that the older school is still hungry. You can listen to some of their radio programs. They're not soft. They still want the American dream. And my uncle, he's up on the roof. I say, what are you doing? Let me get up there. I'm only 40. You 60-something. He up on the roof, still trying to fix the roof, still trying to detail cars. Then he fell off the roof, bounced off the cement, and still trying to get up to work. Woo! Woo! The dream is still alive. He wants to reach the mountaintop. And that's what we're seeing in a lot of older folks. The dream is still alive. So if Trump can do anything, or if, when he get in the White House this month, keep that dream alive. I think he can give these brothers some hope, brothers and white brothers and whatever. Get some unification in this dream. Pump some of that blessing. I don't know if they got to print out a special a desegregation dollar or something. I don't even care if they put Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King, and a few other African-American historians on there. Just give these brothers something, because they still believe. They still want that dream. Made a song about it. We all need to believe in something. Let's believe in the American dream. Let's change and convert those food stamps and government benefits into some form of reparation for the respiratory sicknesses that a lot of people have for smoking and drinking too much and not going to get their education and ruining their lives, selling drugs to their own people. Let's be blessed in the dream. Woo! I've been to the mountaintop. Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 5. What is a deployment on U.S. soil? Politico has an interesting report with the headline explaining how the U.S. military is debating a possible deployment on U.S. soil under Trump. Now, this means that Trump may plan to use active duty U.S. troops to quell the protests and round up immigrants. Oh, wow, this hasn't been done for a while now. The article goes on asking the question of, will the military comply? Now, what got the story in is the fact that the last time this was even done, speaking of Martin Luther King Day, was during the Los Angeles riots in 1992, in which 63 people were dead and 2,383 people were injured. Now, this was the aftermath of the beating of Rodney King. Now, no one was hurt by the military. Now, the article is long, but is filled with some very important talking points regarding Trump's plan compared to actions taken in the past to handle such matters. Folks, this story is still developing. This was story number 5. Story number 6. How long will the pause last? Trump put out the word that all hell would break loose, and at the time, negotiators from both sides were working to strike a deal in exchange for hostages and to end the war in between Israel and Hamas. Now, then about a week later, the Wall Street Journal says that Israel and Hamas has now finally agreed on a deal to pause fighting in Gaza. Now, this is after a 15-month war with negotiations on both sides taking place from all angles. Now, the Biden administration's efforts were also mentioned in the report. Folks, this story is still developing because this is a big story if they can handle this and stop this war. Story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big week. Story number 7 of the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that I made this week for you to keep you informed. Folks, if you do not get up this early, you want to catch the show on the website, we do upload it on Mondays to our YouTube page, to the web page, to the website, so you can check out the show. If you don't get up this early, you can log into the website. You may be a day late, but you're never too early. Story number 7. Stores are closing, downsizing, and planning for the worst. The Hill has a report explaining how Trump says that he is creating an external revenue service for tariffs in the process. This is post a gut-hitting COVID fight that just destroyed retail chains. Now, retail chains have been closing stores, filing bankruptcy, downsizing, and planning for the worst. Malls have also been hit the worst. Now, this is after a Fox Business report says that Kohl's is closing 27 underperforming stores in 15 states. Folks, story number 7 also made it to the top this week. Big head. Story number 8 and the top international headline and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, if you do want to show some support and you don't really have much to do with your finances or something, stop at the store at 5648 Market Street, buy something at the store, show some support of the programs that we do here at Method 8, or you could go to the website, purchase something on the website, stop on the website, buy something. Every little bit counts, especially in this line of work. It is very hard to volunteer. All I know how to do is serve. So if you do want to show some support for keeping you informed and working hard to get you these top 8 stories, give us a blessing. You're more than welcome to. Story number 8, the California insurance question. Fox Business has a report focusing on the insurance questions surrounding the residents of California. The fact that no insurance provider can account for such a loss that is taking place around that part of the country is the reality of the situation. Folks, this is a real deal story because the amount of property damage sits at over 12,000 structures that have been damaged, that are burning through over 40 acres. Now, across the board, the damage is in the billions, as stated in the report. Folks, the article has some very important numbers in regards to understanding the cost that at the moment would empty out a lot of banks if they were to account for the loss, folks, and rebuild. This will take years, folks. This story is still developing. That's why story number 8 made to the top this week. Well, folks, happy Martin Luther King Day. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out doing the research, and as usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the mediator, the man in the middle, navigating your stories just to keep people informed. Those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news story, folks. If you do want to show some support, all you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Mormon, Ohio, and see my smiling face, buy something in the store or Youngstown. Well, folks, I am out here. I'll be back next week, look through over 200 or more stories just to keep you informed. Once again, have a very, very safe and happy Dr. King Day, and be blessed to be unified, whether you're black or white. Well, folks, and be loved. I'm out here. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator. Me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.